Oh my God, what has just happened there? I'm just going to wait for this people to find this video and catch on. But what a disaster, what an absolute shambles of a performance. I think that's our first defeat, our worst defeat, sorry, since 1991. I mean, what on earth are we doing? How on earth could it be that bad? It's a travesty, really. It's shocking, and it's actually really depressing because I just don't know what the answer is. It was so bad, it was embarrassing. It was a complete embarrassment. The game was over after 15 minutes. I mean, that's a new low for us, isn't it? 15 minutes and the game is over. I wasn't at the game today, sadly. I wasn't at the game. I was watching it. I did the kickoff, which is a true Geordie show. I had a great time on there with Lawrence, Geordie, and Mark Goldbridge was on. So it was really good. Make sure you check out that video if you want to see my reaction to the game. And also watching it alongside Mark, who was supporting Man City, naturally, because he doesn't want Liverpool to win the league. It was tough, but I just don't know what the answer is here. This is so bad, and I just think that Maurizio Sarri has so much to answer for. I think that he just got it so wrong, and I really don't know where we go from here. I don't quite know what the problem is. You know, in past seasons when we've had problems, there's been an obvious way to put it right. And depending on what the problem was, you think, right, we need a new striker, we need a new centre-half, we need somebody to boss the midfield again. And you'd be able to put your finger on what went wrong. Whereas today, I don't actually know. I don't know. I think it starts at the top. Oh, the light's just gone off. I'm standing on the street outside the Geordie's residence, and I've just lost the light, so I'm sorry about that. But I think that we really are in trouble. We really have a problem, and I think our hopes of making top four are virtually finished. I just can't see how we're going to do it. I think we're really relying on Tottenham being dragged into it, and I also think that we're hoping that Arsenal can just drop some points. But the problem is now Manchester United have caught us. You know, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over, I think we were 11 points clear of them. He hasn't even been manager there for very long. We were 11 points clear, and they have managed to catch us already. It's shambolic, and full credit to Manchester United. What Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done there is impeccable. Actually, I'm so envious. He's come in, he's taken the ball by the horns, he's started playing attacking football. He's got some of their better players playing well, and he's done a wonderful job. And we are chasing now. We are in real trouble. If you analyse today's game, I think it's a shambles. Guys, just by the way, what I'm going to do in a minute is start going through some of your questions. So get your questions in if you have anything to say to me, or take the piss, naturally. But yeah, I just really don't know. I don't know what we were doing today. We got it so wrong. And City were outrageously good. It was as if they were buoyed by what happened at Stamford Bridge very recently. Obviously, we showed them what happened, didn't we? We showed them, we showed the world a way of beating Manchester City very recently, and we battered them. You know, we were so good at Stamford Bridge. We played them in a way that they weren't ready for, and we were magnificent that day. You know, I thought N'Golo Kante was masterful. I thought David Luiz was incredible. And today was the exact reverse of that, and it does not bode well going into the League Cup final, does it? Obviously, we have to play them again in the League Cup, and that is going to be, you know, it's going to be so difficult because they're going to be so up for it. They're going to be so confident that they can build on what they did today and, well, batter us, really, which is exactly what happened today. From minute one, they were too good for us. You've got to think Sergio Aguero in that first half missed an open goal. I think that would have made it 2-0. They still went in at half-time. You know, it was unassailable by that point. And I really just don't know what we were thinking. I think individually we got it wrong. Quite what Ross Barkley was thinking, I do not know. I mean, it was so poor from Ross Barkley, wasn't it? He got it so wrong, that header back. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. You know, there was so much wrong with today's performance that it would be harsh to put it all on Barkley. Obviously, I mean, it would be ridiculous to put it all on Barkley. But generally speaking, it's just an embarrassment. It really is. And I'm ashamed of that performance. It just shouldn't be happening. It really shouldn't. And I don't know what Sarri is thinking. You know, Sarri really does need to look at this team and react to situations. It was so clear from so early that City had the beating of us today. Sergio Aguero knew exactly what he was doing. The whole of the City lineup was built to expose our weaknesses, and Sarri didn't react to it. He didn't react. You know, we had Marcos Alonso being run ragged. We had David Luiz being run ragged. We had Rudiger off his game, and Maurizio Sarri did absolutely nothing to put that right. Like, you have to react. Like, you can't just wait until the 60th minute and bring on Mateo Kovacic for Ross Barkley, which is what you do every game. You know, what is the point? How is that going to change the dynamic of the game, which is exactly what we needed to happen? So it really is a problem, and I think that we're at critical status here. I don't understand how anyone can think that we're going to make Champions League football. If we don't make Champions League, how on earth can we think that we're going to keep hold of Eden Hazard? We have a player in Hazard who is the potential Ballon d'Or winner. He won't have played in the Champions League. What will that be if we don't make it this year? That will be 3 years out of 4 that we're not in the Champions League. What is going on? How is that acceptable? And I think that somebody like Maria Granovskaya has to be looking at our manager now and thinking, is this the right appointment? Is he the man to lead us? Because in the past 2 weeks, we've broken our own record. We lost to Bournemouth. That was our worst defeat since 1997. We've lost again today, and that was our worst defeat since 1991. We're breaking records for how badly we're getting battered. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So I don't quite see how we put this right. I think questions need to be asked, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see who pays the price here, because what we can't do is go into our next fixture and just go for the same thing again. Just literally go through the same old motions and play the same team and expect things to be different. I think the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. That obviously can't happen. So Sarri needs to take the ball by the horns here and really react to what have been, Bournemouth and Man City have put 10 on us. We haven't scored a goal. It's just ridiculous. So I really don't quite know what the answer is going to be. But as always, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts in this. So please comment and let us know. I'm going to look at some of your questions that are coming in now. You're clueless. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, like I said, I watched the game today. I did the kickoff, which is the True Geordie show. So it was really interesting kind of seeing other fans' perspective on Chelsea. I watched it with Mark Goldbridge. That was, he's a really good bloke. And it was interesting to hear his thoughts on the way it's gone for Chelsea. He has no love for Jorginho. He puts a lot of our frailty down to Jorginho. And I think it's difficult to see a fault in that argument. I think Jorginho was poor today. Obviously, we lost the midfield battle, and that's a huge problem. But equally, the True Geordie, Lawrence, they were saying that it just doesn't look good for Chelsea and it's not happening in the way that it should. So it is a real problem. I think if I were to highlight where we need to improve, I think there's a lot of areas. Naturally, I'm sorry, I'm in Farringdon, I'm in North London, so I'm just going to keep walking to the station because I am freezing. I think there's a lot of areas that we need to improve. Our fullbacks are poor, aren't they? Our fullbacks are poor. Ross Barkley is not good enough. I mean, he's just not good enough. I understand why the club bought him. We got an England international for 15 million quid or whatever it was. So it was a great bit of business, but he can't contribute to our team in the way that we need him to. So what is the point in having him there? So that was obviously a real problem. I don't think Pedro did enough today. I don't think Eden Hazard did enough today. But we've just been battered, absolutely battered. 6-0 by a team who we've already beaten this season. Combine that with the fact that Bournemouth battered us 4-0. I mean, it's ridiculous. We look at what happened last week, where we beat Huddersfield 5-0, and a lot of people were having a go at me and having a go at Sophie and saying, "Oh, look, you morons, look how good it is." As soon as we come up again, like Huddersfield are one of the worst Premier League teams I've ever seen. We come up against a good team today, and we are back to square one. And it is a terrible situation, but we are not going to make the Champions League. We are literally not going to qualify for the Champions League. So anyone who's happy with that status, if you don't think that something needs to change and change immediately, I just don't understand. I just don't understand what prism you are viewing our club through. We are in a desperate state for something new, something original, something clever, something with a bit of ingenuity. And we don't have that. We play the same old players every week with the same formation, and we hope for the best. And invariably, it goes wrong. So we're now 6th. We're below Arsenal in the league. We are below Arsenal. I just cannot see how that has happened. How have we got into a situation where we were, 11 points above Manchester United? 11 points above Manchester United when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over. We are now below them in the league table. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has just arrived. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's just got there. How on earth are we below them in the table? It's a real problem, and I just can't see how this season has any hope unless we make something happen. Somebody either Maurizio Sarri needs to acknowledge his mistakes and put it right, or somebody needs to do it for him, because it's getting desperate. It really is. We're about to play Manchester City in the League Cup final. Can you imagine how their players are feeling about that? Can you imagine? They must be laughing. They must be absolutely laughing their socks off. They've got their eye on a quadruple. We've got our eye on what? Hopefully finishing fourth and potentially nicking a trophy here somewhere. It's just ridiculous, and I really don't know what the answer is. What was very enlightening for me though was doing the kickoff with Lawrence, True Geordie, Mark Goldridge. They all support different clubs, and it's really interesting to see a different perspective. Mark puts a lot of Chelsea's problems down to Jorginho, which I think is interesting. So it's been very interesting to hear your thoughts on that. Do you agree with Mark, or do you think Jorginho has been made a bit of a scapegoat? Lawrence McKenna puts a lot of faith in Sarri. He seems to be a big fan of his. I sit somewhere between there and Sophie on where I stand on him. And yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of our fixtures coming up. We're going to play Manchester United, aren't we? We're going to play Manchester United in the FA Cup. It's Monday night, Monday week. Fucking hell. Manchester United are on the crest of a wave. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's laughing. You've got Rashford on fire. You've got Martial scoring blinding goals. You've got Pogba pulling the strings, playing like his like best, like when he was playing the World Cup. They're going to come to Stamford Bridge on that Monday night. They're going to be loving it. There's going to be, 6,000 United fans in the Shed End. I just can't see a way in which we win that game, which is a terrible state, because even when Chelsea were up against, like, all my Chelsea support in life, which is all my life, I've never ever felt that we couldn't win a game. I've always felt very confident, even when we were playing better teams than us, because you bring them to Stamford Bridge, the crowd get behind the team and things go well. I can't see a way in which we beat Manchester United. How on earth do we beat Manchester United in the cup? It's just not. It just doesn't seem possible to me, the way that things stand. So I mean, it's all really depressing, and I'm going to read some of your comments here because I'm just out of ideas. I just don't know where we go from here. I really don't. I'm hoping that on some level the club will use this game. Like, do you remember when under Antonio Conte, when we got battered at Arsenal, we got battered 3-0, and we used that result as a springboard to put things right? I just hope that the club can look at what's happened here, combine it with what happened against Bournemouth, and think that something needs to happen. And whether that's Sarri coming to his senses and making some brave, bold decisions, whether it's certain players looking in the mirror and realising what they're doing is not good enough and it needs to be improved, or whether it's the club making some decisions for them, something needs to happen, because that is completely unacceptable. To be out of a match, like, the game was over. The game was completely over as a contest after about 15 minutes. That is abysmal. 15 minutes and the game's over. I mean, what are we doing? I remember being at Stamford Bridge and watching Chelsea beat City 6-0. I remember us putting 6 on them, Drogba scoring, Lampard scoring. I was in the ground. How has this happened? How have they done that, the reverse to us? We just shouldn't be in this situation. So let's have a look at some of your comments and see what you are saying. I can't go outside. I can't. Sophie was correct after all, says Veritasity Solutions. I mean, Sophie's video, she got a lot of grief for it. We all did, actually, but that's the nature of the internet. People are quite poisonous, aren't they, sometimes? I mean, you can't have a differing opinion and show respect. But I mean, it didn't matter. It didn't bother us, because what Sophie said, I didn't necessarily agree with her conclusions, but the points that she made were all valid. She said that she highlighted Sarri's mistakes, 5 of his mistakes. And anyone who doesn't think that playing Hazard through the middle was a mistake doesn't watch the same game I watch. So I don't think Sophie got anything wrong. Her conclusions perhaps were slightly broad, but the points that she made were perfectly salient, and I don't disagree with anything she said. And the fact that we've just been whooped 6-0 shows that there was something in it. And you've got to remember as well, a lot of people who were sticking up for Sarri and having a go at Sophie used the 5-0 battering of Huddersfield as some way to justify her being an idiot. I mean, that's just moronic. And that result will linger forever. Like, City fans are going to be loving that one. It's one that's going to remain, isn't it? You know, there are certain results, like when we beat Arsenal 6-0, you still talk about it, you know. We'll be talking about beating Arsenal 6-0 on Wenger's 1000th game in 25 years' time. And if City go on to beat us in the cup final and go on to perhaps win the league, they'll say the moment where we won the league, the catalyst for it, is when Chelsea came to the Etihad and we pulled their pants down. So yeah, it's a real shame. It's a real sad state of affairs that we've been so poor and so badly beaten. But there's nothing surprising about it. Let's see some comments. Sorry, I'm on. Anybody who's wondering why I'm just walking the streets, because I did the kickoff with the True Geordie, and I'm just in Farringdon, just walking to the station. But I thought I'd go live just to see what you were all saying. Terrible result, shocking, lame, pathetic. Sarri out, says Andrew Salmon. I don't know what the answer is. How is Pulisic going to fit into this side? Oh, God knows. God knows. How's 6? 6 is grim. 6 is incredibly grim. David Clark says Chelsea mugs. Cheers for that insightful comment, mate. Appreciated. What about Sarri not shaking Guardiola's hand post-match? I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Is that? Can somebody comment and let me know what happened there, please? I didn't realise that was the case, and it's not the kind of thing that we like to see. Obviously, I mean, it's nice to see that he's angry and upset about the result. It's nice to see that he cares about the result. But, I mean, you have to show respect, don't you? You have to do your best to show respect throughout. Someone said Jody Morris in. I mean, yeah, potentially in a few years. You look like Martin Short, Rory. If I knew who Martin Short was, I would agree or disagree. Let's see what else. Any other questions? Right, guys, we're going to go for another couple of minutes, and then I'm going to have to go home because I've had a baby. Don't know if you know, I've had a little baby, so I'm going to go home and see my little girl. And I'm going to do everything I can to avoid match of the day and any press about this game. Don't get stabbed in North London. Yeah, I'm in Farringdon, Harry, so it's possible. Sarri in, says Chris Scott. Look, nobody wants the manager to leave. Nobody wants it to come to that. It just feels like it's inevitable. I just don't see how we can keep hold of a manager and constantly have these results. You know, we're getting battered by Bournemouth, we're getting battered by Arsenal, we're getting battered by Man City. At what point do people say it's enough? At what point do you say enough of being battered? Let's start battering somebody that isn't Huddersfield. You know, it's just not good enough, and it's such a sad state of affairs. Because if we don't finish in the top 4, what does the future hold for us? It's so poor. If we don't make the top 4, it means that Hazard leaves. That's a given. It means that your capacity to attract good players is ruined. That's a given. It means that the club have another year out, which has financial implications. It means that we can't win the Champions League, which is the Holy Grail, which is what we all want to do again. I just don't know how. I just don't know where we put this right. Can somebody do me a favour? Actually, can anybody comment in and tell me a bit of positivity? How do we put this right? What's the answer to getting us back to where we belong? Because I'm out of ideas. The players are at fault. The manager is at fault. The club are at fault. The only people that aren't at fault are the 4,000 Chelsea fans that went up to Manchester today to watch that. So I just don't know. I don't know how it goes. It's depressing. But on that sad note, I suppose I should bid you farewell. I'm going to jump on a tube and go home and do my best to pretend that this whole thing never happened. Guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this live. I did. Thank you all for commenting in. I enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, please do it right now. Okay, we'll finish on that question. Who's the next manager? Somebody just said Mourinho. I know that's not the answer. Somebody else has said Zidane. I mean, there's something in that. Obviously, the man won 3 Champions Leagues in a row, so he obviously knows what he's doing, and he wasn't a bad player either. So having somebody like him around the club is obviously an option. Somebody said Deschamps, Antonio Conte, anyone but Sarri, Zola, Sarri in. Sophie was completely correct. Wenger. That's what we don't want. Yeah, I really don't know. I just don't know where we go from here. But it's not good. It's really not good. So anyway, like I say, lads, thank you all so much for joining me on this live. I enjoyed it. and I will see you tomorrow when I'm meeting Charlie Skillen. Me and the Skillen are going to do some videos, and I think we'll be covering this game in some great detail. Lambs. Lots of Frank Lampard. I like it a lot. Right, anyone who wants to continue this conversation, by the way, I'm Chelsea Rory on Twitter, at Chelsea Rory. Jump on there, and I'll see you all there in a little bit. Disaster, eh? How do you end a live? I'm on my phone. How'd you do it? Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yeah, man.